Okay, I'm going to be roasting today some Colombian, approximately 2 pounds or so, a little bit less than 2 pounds. And I store my green beans in these 5-gallon food service preparation buckets. Getting a little, scooping some beans out there. I use this blue tray which was provided with the Artisan 2.5 roaster. I keep my roaster in a shed in our backyard. We wired it for a 3-phase power. I put 70 amp service in there so that I would have the ability to run air conditioning and the roaster and lights and other things at the same time. I think the roaster draws around 30 amps or so at full power. At this time, because the weather is generally pretty good in Florida, what I usually do, the simplest thing, is simply blow the chaff out the door. I have the exhaust blower pointed towards the door, and I just, as you can see, just turn it on and blow the chaff out the door. It works pretty well. That way I don't have to worry about cleaning out chaff filters and things like that. And the volume that I do strictly for home use and some friends, it's not generally a problem. So here we're going to pour the green beans in. The roaster and the exhaust fan is, of course, is already going, so that any debris and chaff that's just happened to be on the green beans will be exhausted through the exhaust blower, through the suction from the hood there. So we're going to be, see the ambient temperature is around 90, high 80s, 90 inside the shed. We're going to be establishing a bean loft here with the heating element off. So I run around 3.5-4 inches bean height per recommendations of Coffee Crafters. As you can see, the bean loft is established. The next thing we'll do here is turn on the heating element. And because I have it set initially at 10, I'll back off during the roast. I have to turn the loft back up slightly when I turn on the heating element because it does drop slightly. As you can see, the heat is starting to rise relatively rapidly since I have it at full power. During the roast, I will back off and reduce the power, probably winding up at about, with 2 pounds, probably winding up at about 7 or so. Just simply monitoring the beans. We're kind of in the drying or the browning phase right now, so just it's a visual and audible process. And this is a manual roaster. It's not automated. It requires attention, and you have to pay attention to the roaster and the smells, the sounds, and the sights of the beans. We're at first crack, as you can hear. I generally wind up, as you see, the heat has been turned down to somewhere between around 7. I generally wound up at the end of the roast with the roaster at temperature around 600 degrees or so. A little bit less, a little bit more. I'm checking the bean temperature too, and of course looks like the bean temperature is somewhere around 435 to 440. That's generally where I pull the beans. That's a little bit into second crack, a few seconds into second crack, which is the roast level that my friends and my family like it. And of course, you pull the whole assembly out, including the thermometer, and you dump it in the bean cooler. And then you turn off the heat and you make sure that the fan air continues to go so that it can exhaust heat from the roast chamber. Beans are very hot at this point, but they are cooling rapidly. So they're a little bit too hot to put your hand on right now, but in a few seconds you'll be able to use your hand to agitate and kind of feel the cooling of the beans, making sure they're cooling evenly. Typically cooling time on this system is around a minute, between a minute and 2 minutes. So it's very rapid. Now it's cool enough now, I'm feeling the airflow, making sure that the cooling is even. And now it's cool enough for me to actually put my fingers in it. At this point, I'm turning up the fan on the roaster unit to exhaust as much heat as quickly as I can from the roast chamber. As you can see, the hopper temperature is already down to less than 150 degrees. And the thermocouple inside the bean hopper. And the roast air temperature is dropping. It's less than 200 now. And the beans are ready to come out of the cooler. Another great batch from the Artisan 2.5.